Asia. And these stories are way better than the Vegas video. Vegas video style is the new era of the News Daddy Empire. So make sure you subscribe today. Put your hype.
Are we on? Okay. Am I audible? Think. Okay.
High points in the chat, and I'll see you on Friday.
Let's finish off with the test and that day we finished this. Which one should we go for now? Should we go for the fourth? Where's the listening and
1番
okay, it has already started.
お父さんとお母さんが話しています。このレストランでは何が禁止されていますか？
禁止されていますか？
今日は一緒にレストランで夜ご飯を食べようね。
ええ、あそこのレストランでしょ？
そうだよ。私はコートを着るつもりだよ。
あのジャケットもいいんじゃない？私はコートを着ていく。
私があげたアクセサリーはつけなくてもいいけど。
もちろんつけていく。靴は何にする？
そうだな。サンダルはダメだから普通の靴にするよ。
私もそうする。アクセサリーつけるからね。心配しないでね。
わかっ
お父さんとお母さんが話しています。このレストランでは何が禁止されていますか？
What does 禁止されていますか mean? 禁止されています。禁止されています。prohibited, okay.
今日は一緒にレストランで夜ご飯を食べようね。
ええ、あそこのレストランでしょ？
そうだよ。私はコートを着るつもりだよ。
あのジャケットもいいんじゃない？私はコートを着ていく。
私があげたアクセサリーはつけなくてもいいけど。
もちろんつけていく。靴は何にする？
そうだな。サンダルはダメだから普通の靴にするよ。
私もそうする。アクセサリーつけるからね。心配しないでね。
わかったよ。じゃあ楽しみにしているね。2番。
女の学生と男の学生が話しています。女の学生はお母さんに何をプレゼントしますか？もうすぐでお母さんの誕生日です。
そうなんですね。何かプレゼントしますか？
ええ、そのつもりです。でも、まだ決めていません。
お母さんは何が好きですか？
そうですね。音楽が好きで、よくヘッドホンで音楽を聴いています。
CD とかはどうですか？
いいですね。でも、もういっぱい持っています。あ、他にもよく紅茶をカップで飲んでいます。
では、紅茶をプレゼントしますか？
紅茶はたくさんあるので、カップがいいと思います。
私もそれがいいと思います。
ありがとう。では、今から買いに行ってきます。
3番。
女の人が店員さんと話しています。女の人は何を選びましたか？すみません。このハンカチをください。
わかりました。プレゼントですか？
ええ、そうです。なので、 きれいに包んでください。
わかりました。この大きい紙の袋と小さい紙の袋、どちらがいいですか？
そうですね。小さい方でお願いします。あと、シールも貼ってください。
わかりました。この丸いシールでいいですか？
そうですね。あ、やはりそちらじゃない方のシールをお願いします。
わかりました。
女の人は何を選びましたか？
4番。
男の人と女の人が話しています。女の人は今日、おやつに何を食べますか？
甘いものは好きですか？
大好きです。少しも食べない日はありません。
私もです。
なんで美味しいのかしら。でも、お菓子は体に悪いと考えられていますね。
ええ、そうですね。でも私は食べますよ。昨日はチョコレートを食べました。
チョコレート、いいですね。私は昨日、おやつに桃を食べました。
桃、大好きです。桃のジャムが一番好きです。今日はこれからプリンを食べます。
いいですね。私もそうしようかしら。
昨日は桃を食べたんですよね。桃はとても健康にいいです。だから今日はお菓子を食べましょう。
ええ、そうします。女の人は今日、おやつに何を食べますか？人と女の人が話しています。女の人は今日、おやつに何を食べますか？
甘いものは好きですか？
大好きです。少しも食べない日はありません。
私もです。
なんで美味しいのかしら。でも、お菓子は体に悪いと考えられていますね。
ええ、そうですね。でも私は食べますよ。昨日はチョコレートを食べました。
チョコレート、いいですね。私は昨日、おやつに桃を食べました。
桃、大好きです。桃のジャムが一番好きです。今日はこれからプリンを食べます。
いいですね。私もそうしようかしら。
昨日は桃を食べたんですよね。桃はとても健康にいいです。だから今日はお菓子を食べましょう。
ええ、そうします。女の人は今日、おやつに何を食べますか？
5番。
図書館で女の学生と係の人が話しています。女の学生はどのボタンを押しますか？すみません。これの使い方を教えてください。
いいですよ。まずは上のボタンを押します。
さっき押したと思います。でも何も起こりませんでした。
あれ？あ、すみません。下のボタンでした。
それだけですか？
その次は右のボタンを押してください。
左のボタンは？
それは私たちが押すボタンなので押さないようにしてください。
わかりました。ありがとうございます。
6番。
先生が話しています。学生は明日何時にどこに集まらなければなりませんか？
明日の授業についての連絡です。明日は朝の9時に集合です。いつもは8時か8時半ですが、明日は私が8時から用事があるので9時に集合です。また、教室ではありません。明日はみんなで学校の外を歩くので、学校の門に集合です。いいですか？教室ではありませんよ。では、また明日。6番。
先生が話しています。学生は明日何時にどこに集まらなければなりませんか？
明日の授業についての連絡です。明日は朝の9時に集合です。いつもは8時か8時半ですが、明日は私が8時から用事があるので 9時に集合です。また、教室ではありません。明日はみんなで学校の外を歩くので、学校の門に集合です。いいですか？教室ではありませんよ。では、また明日。
そうなんですよ。
7番。
歯医者さんが話しています。あなたは来週まで何を飲んではいけませんか？
手術が終わりました。明日まで飲み物は水かお茶だけにしてください。いいですか？また、明後日までは牛乳も飲まないようにしてほしいです。そして、アルコールは来週。
歯医者さんが話しています。あなたは来週まで何を飲んではいけませんか？
手術が終わりました。明日まで飲み物は水かお茶だけにしてください。いいですか？また、明後日までは牛乳も飲まないようにしてほしいです。そして、アルコールは来週まで飲んではいけません。あ、そうだ。ジュースは4日後からにしていただけませんか？ということで、水かお茶を飲むようにしてください。飲んだ場合は、すぐにまたここへ来てもらいます。いいですね。8番。
男の人と女の人が電話で会話しています。男の人は何を買いますか？もしもし、今コンビニにいる？
うん、いるよ。何か買うものある？
お茶とチョコレートをお願い。
お茶とチョコレートね。チョコレートは甘いやつ？あまり甘くないやつ？
あまり甘くないやつがいい。
わかった。あと、お茶って言った？
うん。あ、でもお茶はあった。じゃあ、牛乳を買ってくれる？
牛乳ね。あれ、牛乳は売ってないよ。
あら、そう？じゃあ、コーヒーをお願い。
わかった。じゃあすぐに帰るね。
男の人は何を買いますか？
1番。
テレビで天気予報を見ています。ずっと雨が降るのは何曜日ですか？
では、今週の天気をお伝えします。月曜日は晴れて暖かくなるでしょ
テレビで天気予報を見ています。ずっと雨が降るのは何曜日ですか？
う。では、今週の天気をお伝えします。月曜日は晴れて暖かくなるでしょう。火曜日と水曜日は時々雨が降りますが、晴れる時間もありそうです。木曜日はずっと晴れで、花見にいい日になりそうです。金曜日は一日中雨で寒くなるでしょう。土曜日は午前中雨、日曜日は午後雨が降るでしょう。皆さん、いつでも傘を持っておいた方がいいですよ。では、今週も頑張りましょう。
ずっと雨が降るのは何曜日ですか？
2番。
レストランで店員とお客さんが話しています。お客さんは何を頼みましたか？
いらっしゃいませ。ご注文はお決まりですか？
ランチセットをどれにするか迷っています。1から4。どれも美味しそうです。
そうですね。1と2には飲み物が、3と4にはサラダがついてきますよ。
そうですか。飲み物はいらないので、1と2ではないですね。3と4は何が違いますか？
そうですね。3は肉で、4は魚です。
なるほど。普段は肉が好きですが、今日は魚の気分なので、魚とサラダのセットにします。
かしこまりました。
お客さんは何を頼みましたか？
2番。
レストランで店員とお客さんが話しています。お客さんは何を頼みましたか？
いらっしゃいませ。ご注文はお決まりですか？
ランチセットをどれにするか迷っています。1から4。どれも美味しそうです。
そうですね。1と2には飲み物が、3と4にはサラダがついてきますよ。
そうですか。飲み物はいらないので、1と2ではないですね。3と4は何が違いますか？
そうですね。3は肉で、4は魚です。
なるほど。普段は肉が好きですが、今日は魚の気分なので、魚とサラダのセットにします。
かしこまりました。
お客さんは何を？
3番。
会社で男の人と女の人が遊ぶ場所について話しています。女の人はどうして美術館がいいと言っていますか？
明日仕事が休みだから一緒に遊ばない？
いいね。
どこがいい？
美術館がいいよ。美術館もショッピングモールもどちらもいいけど、ショッピングモールはすごく混むんだよ。お店もたくさんあるけど、人がたくさんいるから、ゆっくり買い物ができないんだ。
賑やかで楽しそうだけど疲れるよね。
美術館も人はいるけど、広いから、ゆっくりできるよ。
それはいいね。美術館はここから近い？歩いて行ける？
歩けないけど、電車で10分で着くよ。
じゃあ美術館へ行こ
女の人は、どうして美術館がいいと言って、
う。4番。
男の学生と女の学生が話しています。男の学生は誰と住んでいますか？田中くん、最近はどう？
毎日楽しいよ。
ご両親と一緒じゃないんでしょ？寂しくないの？
少しだけね。でも兄がいるから大丈夫だよ。
兄弟は、そのお兄さんだけ？
いや、姉もいるよ。姉は両親と一緒に住んでいるよ。
男の学生は、
5番。
駅で電車の案内を聞いています。次の電車はいつ来ますか？
皆様、もうすぐ次の電車が来ます。電車は一つ前の駅を3分遅れて出発しています。そのため、この駅に着くのも遅れます。この駅を出るのは10時10分の予定でした。しかし3分遅れる予定です。お急ぎのお客様は10時8分のバスを使ってください。
次の電車はいつ来ます？
5番。
駅で電車の案内を聞いています。次の電車はいつ来ますか？
皆様、もうすぐ次の電車が来ます。電車は一つ前の駅を3分遅れて出発しています。そのため、この駅に着くのも遅れます。この駅を出るのは10時10分の予定でした。しかし3分遅れる予定です。お急ぎのお客様は10時8分のバスを使ってください。
次の電車はいつ来ますか？
6番。
教室で先生が学生に話しています。学生は明日何は持ってこなくていいですか？
明日はみんなでテニスをします。もし明日雨が降ったら体育館でバスケをします。でも明日は晴れるでしょ。スニーカーは絶対に持ってきてくださいね。あ、そしてトレーナーもあった方がいいでしょう。ボールはこの前持ってきてほしいと言いましたが、持ってこなくて大丈夫です。そして試合の後は喉が渇くので、水も持ってきた方がいいでしょう。では明日楽しみましょう。6番。
教室で先生が学生に話しています。学生は明日 何は持ってこなくていいですか？
明日はみんなでテニスをします。もし明日雨が降ったら体育館でバスケをします。でも明日は晴れるでしょ。スニーカーは絶対に持ってきてくださいね。あ、そしてトレーナーもあった方がいいでしょう。ボールはこの前持ってきてほしいと言いましたが、持ってこなくて大丈夫です。そして試合の後は喉が渇くので、水も持ってきた方がいい。7番。
スーパーで客と店の人が話しています。トマトが安くなる時間は何時から何時までですか？すみません。今日はこのお店でトマトが安くなると聞いたのですが、どこで売っていますか？
あそこです。しかし、お客様、トマトが安くなるサービスは午後の1時間だけなんです。
あら、そうなんですね。何時からですか？もう始まっていますか？
いえ、まだです。今ちょうど1時ですから、始まるまで30分ありますよ。
わかりました。トマトが安くなる時間は何時から何時までですか？
1番。
靴屋さんへ来ました。店員さんを呼びます。何と言いますか？ 1、
すみません。
2、
いらっしゃいませ。
3。
ありがとうございます。2番。
授業を受けています。自分と友達が手を挙げました。友達に先に行ってもらいます。何と言いますか？
1、
あ、先にどうぞ。
2、
先に行きます。
3。
後でお願いします。
3番。2番。3番。
黒板の字が読めません。先生に何と言いますか？
1、
すいません。見てもいいですか？
2、
すいません。見ましょうか？
3。
すいません。見えません。
4番。
おばあちゃんに椅子に座ってもらいます。何と言いますか？
1、
ここに座っているようです。
2、
こちらに座ってください。
3。
あなたは座りたがります。
5番。
マフラーを作りました。彼氏にあげます。何と言いますか？
1、
これ、マフラーだよ。どうぞ。
2、
マフラー、いただきます。
3。
マフラーを作っておきます。
1番。
今からどこに行くんですか？ 1、
食事に行こうと思います。
2、
ただいま。
3。
気をつけてね。2番。
よかったら、コーヒーはいかがですか？ 1、
これもどうぞ。
2、
すみません。ありがとうございます。
3。
いいえ、どういたしまして。3番。陳さん、 学校から帰ったら何をするか決めましたか？ 1、
友達の家へ行ってゲームをします。
2、
帰ることになりました。
3、
その映画を見たことがあります。
3番。陳さん、学校から帰ったら何をするか決めましたか？ 1、
友達の家へ行ってゲームをします。
2、4番。ご飯を食べるときは椅子に座りなさい。1、
猫がここで泣いています。
2、
はい、そうします。
3、
いつ座るのですか？
5番。先生、明日はこの教科書が必要ですか？ 1、
はい、持ってきてください。
2、
それは教科書です。
3。
では、さようなら。
5番。先生、明日はこの教科書が必要ですか？ 1、
はい、持ってきてください。
2、
それは教科書です。
3。
では、さようなら。
6番。
どうして今日は仕事をまだし続けるのですか？ 1、
働くかもしれません。
2、
家でゆっくり休んでください。
3、
昨日は仕事を休みました。6番。
どうして今日は仕事をまだし続けるのですか？ 1、
働くかもしれません。
2、
家でゆっくり休んでください。
3、
昨日は仕事を休みました。7番。
スーパーで客と店の人が話しています。トマトが安くなる時間は何時から何時までですか？すみません。今日はこのお店でトマトが安くなると聞いたのですが、どこで売っていますか？
あそこです。しかし、お客様、トマトが安くなるサービスは午後の1時間だけなんです。
あら、そうなんですね。何時からですか？もう始まっていますか？
いえ、まだです。今ちょうど1時ですから、始まるまで30分ありますよ。
わかりました。トマト、
6番。
どう
元気もどもだ。へへへへへ。
1番、
お父さん、
Rep Person insecure. Someone's still sleeping.
Not too long ago, safety on Indian roads was left to chance until someone decided it shouldn't be. In 2018, Tata Motors became the first Indian manufacturer to voluntarily crash the Nexon. That crash delivered India's first 5-star G NCAP rating, and from that moment, safety became a part of every car buying conversation. The story continued with Altroz, Punch, Harrier, Safari, and Curve. And of course, the industry followed. Together, we made Indian roads safer. Now, when the legend returns, safety has to be legendary. For years, safety was measured in one way: a car against a wall, a car against a stationary object. But now, to make safety truly legendary, we had to test the Sierra against something just as legendary.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
And that's how we changed the game on safety again. One crash, one legend, one truth. Most crash fatalities occur between moving vehicles. So we designed this test as a true car-to-car impact to mirror real-world conditions. When impact meets its match, what remains is pure engineering truth. When two legends collide, you don't witness destruction. It's simply an orchestra of precision. This is how safety evolves, how legends lead, and how millions of journeys stay protected every single day. Because what starts in this lab changes what happens on every road outside it. That's how a legend raises the bar, not by following norms, but by redefining them.
This one is actually nice.日本語が上手くなってきたね。すごいですよ。 うん。さ、私たちの子供が
नमस्कार दोस्तों क्या रशिया यूक्रेन का वॉर अब खत्म होने वाला है? क्योंकि शायद पहली बार अब आपको देखने को मिलेगा जो यूक्रेन है वो यूएस के पीस प्लान को कुछ हद तक एक्सेप्ट करने के लिए रेडी है। या आप देख सकते हो खबर, यूक्रेन सेज अंडरस्टैंडिंग रीच्ड ऑन यूएस पीस प्लान एज ट्रम्प एनवॉय टू मीट पुतिन। इसको थोड़ा सा हम डिटेल में समझेंगे कि अभी एग्जैक्टली चल क्या रहा है, क्योंकि काफी टाइम भी हो गया है रशिया यूक्रेन को वॉर के बारे में बात किए। ऑल्दो समय समय पर आप सुनते रहते होंगे कि रशिया ने काफी बड़ा अटैक कर दिया यूक्रेन के ऊपर, तो इस तरह की खबरें आ रही थी। अभी 6 दिन पहले भी काफी भयानक अटैक हुआ था। लेकिन अब क्या है ना कि इतना ज्यादा समय बीत चुका है कि यूक्रेन है, रशिया है, कोई भी ये चाहेगा कि अब चीजें खत्म हो, क्योंकि एक बहुत बड़ी पूरी जो जनरेशन है वो इस पूरे वॉर में खत्म हो सकती है। तो इसको थोड़ा सा हम डिटेल में जानेंगे कि एग्जैक्टली अभी हुआ क्या है और आगे क्या हो सकता है। चलिए शुरुआत करते हैं, लेकिन उससे पहले आप सबको बता दूं कि देखिए स्टडी आईक्यू पर अचीवर सेल स्टार्ट हुआ है, जहां पर आप एक्स्ट्रा डिस्काउंट हमारे सभी बैचेस के ऊपर ले सकते हैं। यूपीएससी का जो 2026 का प्रीलिम्स बैच है, प्रीलिम्स का क्रैश कोर्स, जिसके अंदर आप देख पाओगे इतने सारे फीचर्स आपको मिलते हैं, या फिर 2027 का लॉन्ग टर्म बैच जिसमें प्रीलिम्स, मेंस, इंटरव्यू सब कुछ की कंप्लीट प्रिपरेशन कराई जाती है। आपको बस यूज करना है कोड अंकित लाइव मैक्सिमम डिस्काउंट के लिए, और ये फोन नंबर दिया, आप इस पे कॉल कर सकते हैं। मेरी टीम आपको अच्छे से गाइड कर देगी, लिंक कमेंट सेक्शन में दिया हुआ है। चलिए शुरुआत करते हैं। सबसे पहले बैकग्राउंड देख लेते हैं। क्या है कि रिसेंटली यहाँ पर यूएस की तरफ से, इनफैक्ट यूक्रेन की भी तरफ से यहाँ पर डिप्लोमेटिक एफर्ट किए जा रहे थे ताकि जो वॉर है उसको खत्म किया जाए। और जो अमेरिका है वो पीस फ्रेमवर्क रिसेंटली सर्कुलेट किया यूक्रेन को और रशिया को। मतलब ये 28 पॉइंट का ड्राफ्ट जो है वो बताया जा रहा है कि सर्कुलेट किया गया था दोनों देशों को, ताकि दोनों देश इस पर एग्री कर जाएं। और फाइनली हाई लेवल मीटिंग जेनेवा में हुई, जहां पर यूक्रेन, यूएस और यूरोप के कुछ जो ऑफिशियल्स हैं उनके बीच में मुलाकात हुई थी। और उसी वक्त यूक्रेन ने अनाउंस किया कि अंडरस्टैंडिंग ऑन द कोर टर्म्स, मतलब यूक्रेन जो है, जो कोर टर्म्स होते हैं चीजों को लेकर, वॉर को खत्म करने को लेकर, उसके बीच में अंडरस्टैंडिंग आ गई है। तो ये ऐसा लग रहा है कि यूक्रेन भी अब काफी हद तक रेडी है कि इस वॉर को खत्म किया जाए। और ये बहुत ज्यादा मायने रखता है, क्योंकि ऑल्दो आप कह सकते हैं कि ये प्रिलिमिनरी स्टेज पर है, लेकिन पोटेंशियली हो सकता है कि इसकी वजह से वॉर खत्म हो जाए। तो क्वेश्चन पहला तो यही आता है कि यूक्रेन और यूएस में क्या एग्रीमेंट हुआ है, मतलब ये लोग किस चीज को लेकर एग्री किए हैं। कोर अलाइनमेंट अचीव्ड, बेसिकली जो यूक्रेनियन सिक्योरिटी एडवाइजर हैं उन्होंने बताया कि जो दोनों देश हैं यूएस और यूक्रेन, दे हैव रीच्ड अ कॉमन अंडरस्टैंडिंग ऑन एसेंशियल एलिमेंट, जो वॉर खत्म करने को लेकर जो कुछ इंपॉर्टेंट चीजें हैं पीस फ्रेमवर्क में। क्योंकि देखो मैंने आपको बताया ना, ये 28 पॉइंट ड्राफ्ट यूएस ने सर्कुलेट किया, तो जरूरी तो है नहीं कि यूक्रेन सभी के सभी 28 पॉइंट पर एग्री कर जाएगा। तो बताया यहां पर यह जा रहा है कि 19 पॉइंट्स, उसको जो 28 पॉइंट का पूरा फ्रेमवर्क था उसको रिवाइज करके 19 पॉइंट में कन्वर्ट किया गया है। क्योंकि यूक्रेन इन पॉइंट्स पर नहीं मान रहा था, तो वापस से इसको रिवाइज किया गया ताकि जो है वॉर खत्म करने की तरफ आगे बढ़ा जाए। और जो रिवीजन है बताया जा रहा है कि उसमें बेसिकली यूक्रेन जो है वो सॉवरेनिटी चाहता था, टेरिटोरियल इंटीग्रिटी चाहता था, सिक्योरिटी गारंटी चाहता था। तो वो सारी चीजें बताया जा रहा है कि इस 19 पॉइंट्स में इंक्लूड की गई हैं। और इसीलिए बोला गया है कि अब जेलेंस्की हो सकता है बहुत जल्द, आज या कल में या फिर 2-4 दिन बाद जो है जेलेंस्की व्हाइट हाउस जा सकते हैं, ट्रंप से मुलाकात कर सकते हैं, ताकि जो बाकी के इश्यूज हैं उसको रिजॉल्व किया जा सके। अच्छा, क्वेश्चन आपके मन में आएगा कि ये जो 19 पॉइंट का पीस प्लान है, जो ड्राफ्ट जारी किया है अमेरिका ने 28 पॉइंट का, 19 पॉइंट का, उसमें क्या क्या चीजें हैं। देखो अभी तक उसको पब्लिक नहीं किया गया है, ठीक है। और इसके जो 4 मेजर कंटेंट एरियाज हैं, वो अगर मैं आपको बताऊं, मतलब मीडिया में जो चीजें चल रही हैं, सबसे पहला होगा टेरिटोरियल इश्यूज। आप सब जानते हैं कि यूक्रेन इस बात से काफी ज्यादा नाखुश है कि रशिया ने ये वाला जो पूरा एरिया है जो अपने अंडर में ले लिया है। सब आप सब जानते हैं कि जो क्रीमिया है वो तो आपका ऑलरेडी 2014 में ही एनेक्स कर लिया था रशिया ने, लेकिन फिर इसके अलावा डोनबास वाला ये पूरा रीजन हो गया, फिर आप सब जानते होंगे खरसोन हो गया यहाँ पर, और इधर जेपोरिजिया हो गया। तो ये जो पूरा एरिया है ना, ये इस समय रशिया के अंडर में है। तो यूक्रेन चाहता है कि वो एरिया को खाली किया जाए, लेकिन जाहिर सी बात है रशिया उससे एग्री करेगा नहीं। रशिया कहेगा नहीं, जहां तक हम आ गए हैं वो तो हम लेंगे ही। इनफैक्ट रशिया तो ये भी कह रहा है बाकी के भी जो कुछ कुछ जो एरियाज हैं, जैसे डोनबास का ये वाला कुछ एरिया हो गया, जेपोरिजिया का कुछ एरिया हो गया, तो वो वाले एरिया भी हमें चाहिए। तो टेरिटोरियल इशू को लेकर प्रॉब्ली पीस प्लान में रेजोल्यूशन लाया गया है। एग्जैक्टली क्या है, जब वो चीजें पब्लिक होंगी तब समझ में आएगा। फिर दूसरा क्या है, यूक्रेन के आर्म्ड फोर्सेस के ऊपर लिमिट लगाना। मतलब यूक्रेन अपनी सेना कितनी मेंटेन कर सकता है, उसकी स्ट्रेंथ कितनी होगी, उसको लेकर भी सवाल उठ रहे थे। मतलब कि क्या यूक्रेन के पास 2 लाख पर्सन्स होने चाहिए उनकी सेना में, वेपन सिस्टम कौन कौन सा होना चाहिए, क्योंकि रशिया चाहता है कि उसके ऊपर कैप लगाया जाए, यूक्रेन अपनी आर्मी को बहुत ज़्यादा बड़ा ना करे। तो उसके बारे में भी पीस प्लान के अंदर मेंशन किया हुआ है। और इनफैक्ट ये भी बताया जा रहा है कि जो मैंने आपको बोला ना 28 पॉइंट को रिवाइज करके 19 पॉइंट में किया गया इस पीस प्लान को, तो उसमें बोला जा रहा है कि यूक्रेन नाखुश था, जो पहले स्ट्रेंथ बताया गया था यूएस की तरफ से उसको इंक्रीज किया गया, ये बताया जा रहा है। और फिर इसके अलावा नेटो का स्टेटस का जहां तक मामला है तो ऑब्वियस सी बात है, यूक्रेन को वो स्टेटस नहीं मिल सकता, आप कुछ भी कह लीजिए, क्योंकि रशिया ने साफ साफ कह दिया है कि वो तो बिल्कुल भी हमारे लिए एक्सेप्टेबल नहीं होगा। तो मोस्ट प्रॉब्ली हो सकता है कि जो जेलेंस्की हैं, जो यूक्रेन है, वो इस चीज़ के लिए एग्री कर गए हों कि चलो भाई ठीक है, ये रियलिटी है, हम नेटो में तो नहीं जा सकते, ये उनको अब समझ में आ गया होगा। फिर इसके अलावा अब क्वेश्चन ये है कि फिर सिक्योरिटी का क्या होगा, मतलब यूक्रेन बेसिकली नेटो में क्यों जाना चाहता है, ताकि उसको सिक्योरिटी मिले, तो उसके लिए एक अलग से गारंटी मिल जाए। मतलब यूक्रेन इंसिस्ट कर रहा है कि एक क्लियर कट एनफोर्सेबल गारंटी होनी चाहिए यूएस की तरफ से, बाकी देशों से, कि कल के डेट में अगर रशिया फिर से अटैक करता है यूक्रेन के ऊपर, तो यहां पर उसको प्रोटेक्ट करने के लिए बाकी के देश होंगे। फिर ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए कि अमेरिका पीछे हट जाए, फिर रशिया जो है बाकी के और एरियाज यूक्रेन का अपने अंडर में ले ले। तो यूक्रेन बेसिकली इस पे इंसिस्ट कर रहा है कि एक स्ट्रक्चर्ड, एक ट्रिगर मैकेनिज्म होना चाहिए कि कल के डेट में रशिया अगर मान लो अपने ट्रूप्स को थोड़ा सा भी अंदर भेजे, तो एक पर्टिकुलर स्टेप होना चाहिए कि उस केस में यूएस क्या करेगा, यूरोप क्या करेगा। तो वो सारी चीजें यहाँ पर सिक्योरिटी गारंटी यूक्रेन चाहता है। और जो रिवाइज्ड वाला पीस प्लान का ड्राफ्ट है उसमें बताया जा रहा है कि इसके बारे में भी मेंशन किया गया है। लेकिन यहाँ पर अभी भी बहुत सारे सेंसिटिव इश्यूज हैं जो अभी अनरिजॉल्व हैं। मतलब भले ही यहाँ पर प्रोग्रेस हुआ है वॉर को खत्म करने के लिए, लेकिन यूएस जो है उसका कहना है कि ये जो सेंसिटिव पॉलिटिकल पॉइंट्स हैं वो हो सकता है जब जेलेंस्की मुलाकात करेंगे ट्रम्प से, तब में भी शायद चीज़ें रिजॉल्व हो जाएं। जैसे फाइनल डिसीजन टेरिटोरियल प्रोविजन का, कि यहाँ पर कितना एरिया रशिया के पास जाएगा और कितना यूक्रेन के पास जाएगा, उसके ऊपर अभी तक फाइनल डिसीजन नहीं हो पाया है। मिलिट्री रिस्ट्रिक्शंस कितना ज़्यादा होगा यूक्रेन के ऊपर, वो देखना होगा। जो सिक्योरिटी गारंटी है वो किस प्रकार का होगा। तो अभी भी बहुत सारे अनरिजॉल्व इश्यूज हैं जो देखना है कि वो पूरा हो पाता है कि नहीं। लेकिन अब क्वेश्चन ये आता है, देखो हमने यूक्रेन की तो बात कर ली, रशिया का क्या पोजीशन है। देखो मैं आपको बता दूं कि यहाँ पर जो रशिया है उसने अभी तक रिवाइज्ड ड्राफ्ट को एक्सेप्ट नहीं किया है। देखो जो पहले वाला ड्राफ्ट था ना, वो कुछ हद तक रशिया एक्सेप्ट करने के लिए रेडी था, लेकिन अभी जो रिवाइज्ड ड्राफ्ट है, जो 28 पॉइंट से कन्वर्ट करके 19 पॉइंट्स में किया गया है यूक्रेन के कहने पर, तो अब यहाँ पर वो चीज रशिया को प्रेजेंट किया जाएगा। और ये मीटिंग बेसिकली अबू धाबी में होनी है। बेसिकली ट्रंप ने अपने जो एनवॉय हैं उनको भेजा है अबू धाबी। नमस्कार दोस्तों एक समय हुआ करता था यूके बिलियनियर्स का फेवरेट होता था। मतलब ज्यादातर दुनिया के जो बिलियनियर्स हैं वो लंदन में जाकर सेटल होना चाहते थे। इनफैक्ट भारत से भी अगर आप देखो, बहुत सारे जो भगोड़े हैं जिन्होंने पैसा लेकर भागा है बैंकों का, और वो भी कई बार आप देखोगे तो लंदन में देखने को मिलते हैं, क्योंकि काफी टैक्स फ्रेंडली कंट्री माना जाता है। कहा जाता है बहुत सारी सहूलियतें हैं, तो लोगों को पसंद आता है वहां पर जाकर सेटल होना। लेकिन अब लगता है चीजें बदलने वाली हैं, लगता है बिलियनियर्स का एक्सोडस होने वाला है। क्योंकि इस समय आप सब जानते हैं कि यूके में लेबर पार्टी पावर में आई है, लेफ्ट लीनिंग पार्टी है, और अक्सर लेफ्ट लीनिंग पार्टी का जो विचारधारा है वो ऐसा होता है कि जो रिच पीपल है उनके ऊपर ज्यादा टैक्स लगाओ ताकि आप गरीब लोगों को जो है वो चीजें ट्रांसफर कर सको। लेकिन इसका एक दूसरा असर भी होता है कि लॉन्ग टर्म में आपको नुकसान भी हो सकता है। वो सब मैं आपसे डिस्कस करूंगा। क्या है कि यूके को एक बड़ा झटका लगने वाला है। यहां पर जो नाम सामने आया है लक्ष्मी मित्तल, आप सब जानते हैं, वो बहुत जल्द यूके छोड़कर जाने वाले हैं। आप देख सकते हो खबर, लक्ष्मी मित्तल लीविंग यूके एज लेबर पार्टी प्रिपेयर्स मेजर टैक्स हिट ऑन वेल्दी। इसको थोड़ा सा हम डिटेल में समझेंगे कि ये कौन सा सुपर रिच टैक्स है जो यूके लाने वाली है, लेबर पार्टी ऐसा क्यों कर रही है, क्यों लक्ष्मी मित्तल यूके छोड़कर जा रहे हैं, कहां पर जाएंगे, वो सब कुछ मैं आपको बताऊंगा। चलिए आगे बढ़ते हैं। लेकिन उससे पहले आप सबको बता दूं, स्टडी आईक्यू पर हमारा जो अचीवर सेल है इस मंथ एंड का, वो स्टार्ट हो रहा है। यहां पर अगर आप कोई भी बैच लेते हो यूपीएससी का, चाहे 2026 का प्रीलिम्स दे रहे हैं, तो ये वाला जो क्रैश कोर्स है जिसके अंदर बहुत सारे फीचर्स हैं, ये आपको मिलेगा। या फिर 2027 की अगर आप लॉन्ग टर्म प्रिपरेशन कर रहे हो, प्रीलिम्स मेंस इंटरव्यू सब कुछ की कंप्लीट प्रिपरेशन चाहते हैं, तो ये बैच आपके लिए हेल्पफुल होगा। सभी के लिंक कमेंट सेक्शन में दिए हुए हैं, एंड यूज करिएगा कोड अंकित लाइव, ये मैक्सिमम डिस्काउंट लेने के लिए। और साथ ही साथ ये फोन नंबर है, यहां पर आप कॉल करिए, मेरी टीम आपको अच्छे से गाइड करेगी अगर आपको कोई भी डाउट होता है। चलिए शुरुआत करते हैं। सबसे पहले देखते हैं कि एक्जैक्टली हो क्या रहा है। लक्ष्मी निवास मित्तल, आप सब जानते हैं, इंडियन ओरिजिन फाउंडर है, चेयरमैन है आर्सेलर मित्तल के, एंड वन ऑफ द वर्ल्ड्स रिचेस्ट स्टील मैग्नेट्स माने जाते हैं। उनका नेटवर्थ अगर आप देखोगे 15 बिलियन पाउंड से ज्यादा है। मैं बिलियन मतलब यहां पर डॉलर की बात नहीं कर रहा हूं, 15 बिलियन पाउंड से भी ज्यादा है एंड प्रोमिनेंट यूके रेसिडेंट रहे हैं वो कई दशकों से वहां पर जाकर सेटल हुए थे। और अगर आप देखिए तो बहुत सारी जो एक्सपेंसिव प्रॉपर्टीज हैं लंदन में वहां पर उनको आपको देखने को मिलेंगी। और अब जो मीडिया रिपोर्ट सामने आ रही है उनका यही कहना है कि वो यूके क्विट करने वाले हैं, छोड़कर जाने वाले हैं, क्योंकि यूके में वेल्दी पीपल के ऊपर भारी भरकम टैक्स लगने वाला है। और टाइमिंग क्रूशियल है क्योंकि जैसा मैंने आपको बताया कि पिछले साल जो है लेबर पार्टी पावर में आई और उन्होंने डिसाइड किया है कि मेजर टैक्स रिफॉर्म लाया जाएगा। मतलब जो अल्ट्रा रिच इंडिविजुअल्स हैं यूके के अंदर उनको स्पेसिफिकली टारगेट किया जाएगा। मतलब वेल्दी पीपल के पास बहुत सारा जो पैसा था उसका बड़ा हिस्सा वो सरकार लेने वाली है। तो क्वेश्चन ये आता है कि वो कौन सा मूव है, मतलब ऐसा क्या करने वाली है लेबर पार्टी यूके की सरकार जिसकी वजह से मित्तल जो है लक्ष्मी मित्तल साहब यूके छोड़कर जा सकते हैं। सबसे पहला है अबॉलिशन ऑफ द नॉन डॉम टैक्स रिजीम। नॉन डॉम का मतलब है नॉन डोमिसाइल टैक्स रिजीम। तो क्या है कि यूके में एक नॉन डोमिसाइल स्टेटस दिया जाता था फॉरनर्स को कि अगर वो फॉरनर्स यूके में आकर सेटल होते हैं, रहते हैं, तो यहाँ पर उनके ऊपर जो टैक्सेस है, अगर वो मान लो कोई ऐसा इनकम है जो बाहर कमा रहे हैं तो उसके ऊपर उनको टैक्स नहीं देना पड़ेगा। मतलब मान लीजिए लक्ष्मी मित्तल वो इस समय आपका लंदन में है, यूके में है, तो वहां पर वो सेटल है, वहां पर रह रहे हैं, अच्छी बात है। और अगर मान लीजिए उनका इनकम लंदन में होगा, यूके में होगा, वो तो होगा, उसके ऊपर तो टैक्स देना है, वो तो टैक्स देंगे। लेकिन अगर उनका काफी सारा इनकम मान लीजिए भारत से आ रहा है, दुबई से आ रहा है, मान लीजिए अमेरिका में बहुत सारे उनके काम है, वहां से जो पैसा आ रहा है, तो उन सारे पैसों के ऊपर जो फॉरेन में वो पैसा कमा रहे हैं ना, उसके ऊपर यूके टैक्स नहीं लगाएगा। ये अभी तक रिजीम चलता आ रहा था, लेकिन अब लेबर पार्टी इसको अबॉलिश करना चाहती है। लेबर पार्टी का कहना है कि ये बेनिफिट हम उनको क्यों दें, यहाँ पर जो बिलियनियर्स हैं जैसे लक्ष्मी मित्तल, उनका बहुत सारा जो पैसा है, जो कमाई है, वो बाहर के देशों से आता है, तो उसके ऊपर भी हमें टैक्स लगाना चाहिए। ये लेबर पार्टी का कहना है। तो ये एक बहुत बड़ा स्टेप है जिसकी वजह से बहुत सारे जो बिलियनियर्स हैं वो खुश नहीं होंगे। और दूसरा और जो सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट है जिसकी वजह से बोला जा रहा है कि लक्ष्मी मित्तल ने फाइनली डिसाइड किया कि वो यूके छोड़कर जाएंगे, वो है आपका एक्सपोजर टू यूके इनहेरिटेंस टैक्स। मतलब यहाँ पर ये बोला गया है कि अगर आप अपनी जायदाद संपत्ति दूसरे को ट्रांसफर करते हो, कोई भी पैसा ट्रांसफर करते हो, मान लीजिए किसी की मृत्यु हो गई, तो पैसा इनहेरिटेंस टैक्स आप सब जानते होंगे। तो यहाँ पर अब ये कहा जा रहा है कि 40% इनहेरिटेंस टैक्स लग सकता है अगर एक पर्टिकुलर लेवल से ऊपर प्रॉपर्टी या फिर वेल्थ ट्रांसफर होता है। और ये बेसिकली अगर आप देखोगे तो ब्रिटिश डोमिसाइल रूल्स के हिसाब से वर्ल्ड वाइड एसेट के ऊपर ये टैक्स लगाया जा सकता है। मतलब ऐसा नहीं है कि यूके में सिर्फ प्रॉपर्टी है वो अगर ट्रांसफर हो रही है तो सिर्फ उसी के ऊपर 40%, ऐसा नहीं। लेबर पार्टी की सरकार ये कह रही है कि आपकी प्रॉपर्टी वेल्थ दुनिया में जहां पर भी है वो सारे प्रॉपर्टी के ऊपर हम 40% का इनहेरिटेंस टैक्स लगाएंगे। तो ये बोला जा रहा है कि प्रॉब्ली दिस वाज द मेन ट्रिगर जिसकी वजह से लक्ष्मी मित्तल ने डिसाइड किया कि वो यूके छोड़ेंगे। और उनके एडवाइजर्स ने भी क्वेश्चन किया कि ऐसा कैसे हो सकता है, अगर आप यूके में जो प्रॉपर्टी है, वेल्थ है, वो ट्रांसफर हो रहा है, इनहेरिटेंस हो रहा है, तो आप लगाओ टैक्स, चलो समझ में आता है। दुनिया में जो प्रॉपर्टी है सारी उसके ऊपर भी आप लगाओगे, ये कहां तक सही है। खैर, तीसरा है यहाँ पर प्रपोज्ड एग्जिट टैक्स। मतलब ये बोला जा रहा है कि लेबर पार्टी जो नया टैक्स लाने वाली है, अगर वो टैक्स आ जाता है तो उसके बाद अगर कोई वेल्दी इंडिविजुअल यूके छोड़कर जाता है तो उसको 20% टैक्स देना होगा। मान लीजिए आपके पास 1 करोड़ रुपए है और आप 1 करोड़ रुपए लेकर यूके छोड़ना चाह रहे हो, दुबई सेटल होना चाह रहे हो, इंडिया सेटल होना चाह रहे हो, तो यहाँ पर आपको 20 लाख रुपए सरकार को देने होंगे बस छोड़ने के लिए।
Perhaps
तो
the
कहीं ना
most
कहीं ऐसा लग रहा
popular
होगा
data
कि
science
लक्ष्मी मित्तल को
methodology
ये कानून, ये जो नया टैक्स वजूद में आए, पार्लियामेंट से पारित हो, उसके पहले ही छोड़कर चले जाओ, क्योंकि वो जब आ जाएगा तो उसके बाद आपको 20% तो देना ही पड़ेगा लंदन की गवर्नमेंट को।
and tools come from the field of machine learning. Machine learning success stories include the handwritten zip code readers implemented by the Postal Service, speech recognition technology such as Apple Siri, movie recommendation system, spam and malware detectors, housing price predictors, and driverless cars. Although today, artificial intelligence and machine learning are often used interchangeably, we make the following distinction. While the first artificial intelligence algorithms, such as those used by chess playing machines, implemented decision-making based on programmable
Now with this in your hands, roll your hands together, exactly like that. Roll your hands together, this is sugar and coffee. Then you can taste it as well.
So when someone spends $1,000 at a fancy restaurant, licking sauces off their hands like it's art, it's called fine dining. But when Indians eat with their hands, suddenly our century-old culture and traditional way of eating is unhygienic and dirty. Ew, use a spoon. Ew, that's gross.
Hey friends, so what is Python? Okay, so now let's start. Hey friends, so what is Python? Hey friends, so what is Python? Okay, so now let's start with basics.
Tableau projects. Now we can work together in order to implement Tableau project. But what's special about this project is that you will not only learn how to work with Tableau, but also you will learn how I usually implement projects in big companies. I'm currently leading big data and business.
Start with basics. What is programming language? So now imagine that you want to give your computer a task and you say, hey computer, calculate 5 plus 5. Well, your computer will not understand what is exactly you're talking about and nothing gonna happen. So we cannot use the natural human language in order to give tasks for your PC. So now instead of that, we have to give the instructions in a language where the computer understands it. We write a short piece of code, like for example here in Python, print 5 plus 5. Now the computer gonna understand the instruction and give us as a result 10. So a program, it is like set of instructions that is written in a language the computer can follow. But my friend, not all languages are the same. Some are made for people and others are made for machines. So now at the top we have the natural language. Like you say, hey, please calculate 5 plus 5. And we have a lot of natural languages. We have the English, Spanish, Hindi. They are easy for us, but far too complex for computer to understand. Now moving on, then we have the high level languages. So they are programming languages, but they are made for human because they are very simplified, logical, and really easy to write and to read. And we have a lot of languages like Python and JavaScript. They are high level languages. And now next we are going lower. We are going to the low level languages. Programming languages can talk directly to the machines, but they are really hard for humans. It's hard to read, to write, and as well to understand. And here we have examples like the assembly and the C language. And now at the very bottom we have the machine language. And this one is made of binary code, a combination of ones and zeros. And this is exactly what your computer can understand. But it is impossible for humans to read it, to understand it, to write it. So now if you look at these levels, each step down it's gonna bring us closer on how the machine thinks, and each step up it's gonna bring us closer on how human thinks. So now if you're looking at Python, the high level language, it is closer to the natural language than the machine language. So that means it is really easy to learn and to write, and it's like an abstraction that hides the complexity of low level and machine languages. So it's like a bridge between both worlds. So this is exactly what are programming languages and what is Python. Okay, so now I would like you to understand exactly how Python works. So let's say you open your editor and you start writing Python code. And usually we write the code inside a Python file with the file extension of py. So here you are writing the source code. Once you run your code, the computer cannot immediately execute your instructions because it is really high level and the computer needs a lower level of the code. So what happens? There is something called compiler in Python. It's gonna take your Python code and translate it to another code. It's called the bytecode with the extension .pyc, Python compiled. And this can happen automatically and you will not even notice it. So what happened here? The compiler of Python gonna translate the high level language, the Python code, to a low level language, the bytecode. So as you can see, it's really hard to understand bytecode compared to the Python code. So now our code is not yet executed, right? Python just did a translation. But now before anything to be executed, what can happen? Python might as well link some libraries. It is like pre-written chunks of code that helps your code to do something specific, like working with files, handling data, and so on. Now Python has everything: the bytecode, the libraries, and now Python can run your bytecode using something called Python Virtual Machine. So it's like a software that can understand the bytecode of Python and take care of running it. So the Python Virtual Machine can finally convert your instructions into machine code, 1s and 0, because this is the only thing that your computer can really understand. And once it runs, you will see at the results whatever your program was designed to do. Now all those 3 steps, compile, translate, and execute, we call them the Python interpreter. So it's like a toolbox that handles everything needed to run a Python code. So again, my friend, you write Python code in a high language, then Python compiles it and translates it into the bytecode, the low language, and then the virtual machine gonna take care of everything, gonna take your bytecode, some libraries, and then it's gonna run it at your computer to see the results. So this process happens every time you write a Python code, and everything is of course automated and behind the scenes. Okay, so now let's talk about why we should learn Python in the first place. There are like too many programming languages out there, so why millions of people choose Python? So the first and most important reason is Python is very powerful and as well at the same time very simple. You can build really serious stuff with few lines of code. So if you compare like Java and Python, in Java or C++, you're gonna write like a lot of lines in order to do a simple task compared to Python where you need only like 1 or 2 lines. So as you can see, Python is very simple compared to other programming languages. Okay, moving on to the second reason, Python is used literally everywhere and you can use it in order to build everything. So you can use it to build websites, to automate tasks, to work with data, to build games, and even control robots. So whatever direction you want to go in tech, you will find probably Python. Okay, moving on to the next one. One of the best things about Python is the community. You are, my friend, never alone. There are thousands of developers and experts like me sharing their knowledge in tutorials, or they are like writing blog posts and as well developing and sharing free libraries, open source projects in GitHub. And if you're stuck or have any complex task, I'm sure there's like someone already solved it and probably made a YouTube video or a GitHub repo about it. So this type of community makes the language alive. And when it comes to AI, Python is leading the way. Almost everything you hear about today, like ChatGPT, image generations, self-driving car models, it's built with Python because Python has an incredible ecosystem for AI and machine learning. So my friends, that means the programming language of AI is Python. And if you're interested in the future, then Python is the right language. And now because of all these reasons, Python is one of the most in-demand programming language in the world right now. If you check any job description in the tech world, you will see everyone across all industries, finance, healthcare, logistics, car manufacturing, everyone is requesting Python skill. So my friends, Python is really easy to learn, has incredible use cases, it is shaping the future with AI, it has a huge community, and it is amazing for your career. So this is exactly why millions learns and works with Python. Okay, so now I hope that I got you motivated to learn Python, and I will not leave you there. I'm going to show you now how to learn Python. So Python is like a journey, and every journey needs a roadmap. So now everybody can start from the same place. Every expert, a data engineer, AI, web, gaming developers, everyone has to start at the same place. Everyone has to learn how to write a simple code, understand variables, how to work with data types, how to control the flow of your code, and as well you have to learn about the functions and how to organize your code into small reusable blocks. So this stage builds your foundation, and now after that everyone has to go to the intermediate level. Now we're going to level things up. You're going to start learning how to handle errors and exceptions, how to structure your code using the OOP, object-oriented programming, how to split your projects into modules, and how to work with files and many other stuff. So at this phase you start feeling how your code is getting more professional, more like a real developer. So things can make more sense here. And after that everyone can start moving to the advanced level, and you can start learning advanced techniques. We're going to go outside of our code in order to connect ourselves with APIs, in order to grab data from the internet, and we're going to learn stuff like how to test your code and how to scrap websites to collect data automatically. And at this level, you're going to start doing real projects and solving real problems. So now, as you can see, all those 3 levels, they are the core of Python, and everyone must learn these techniques because everyone needs those techniques in whatever you are building in the future. And now, after that, of course, we cannot keep learning everything. It's going to be really impossible. So you have to really make thoughts about which path you want to follow, the direction that match your interest and your career goals. So you have to pick your path. And there are like a lot of options. Like for example, you could be a data engineer if you'd like to work with pipelines, automations, moving data around. Then you have to learn something like PySpark, ETL processes, and automations with Python. Another path, you can use Python for data science. If you enjoy working with data, charts, insights, if yes, then you can be working with libraries like Pandas, NumPy, and Plotly in order to analyze and visual your data. If you want to go deeper and build smart systems and models, then you have to work with Python libraries like PyTorch, Transformers, and TensorFlow. And another option and path, you could use Python for web development. So if you want to build websites and web apps, then you can use Python libraries and frameworks like Flask, Django, and Request. And of course, not only those 4, we have a lot of other options like using Python for game development. But as you can see at the expert level at the right side, it's going to be almost impossible to learn all those libraries. So now if I look to this and tell you about my journey, so I learned everything in Python about data engineering, and then with the time I start picking few libraries from the other options. Like from the data science, I learned the Plotly and the Pandas, and from the AI and machine learning, the Transformers. So I'm going to recommend you to pick first a path, make yourself an expert there, and with the time start exploring the other stuff. Alright, so now let's take it step by step. Let's go back completely to the start. I will be explaining everything from the scratch using very easy sketches and examples, and I will be sharing with you everything that I know. Alright, my friend, one more last thing. If you really enjoy this type of tutorials where it's free and as well I sketch those complex concepts, and you want more content like this, then support the channel by subscribing, liking, commenting. This can really help with the algorithm, and support the channel by reaching others like you, and as well can help me to make more content like this. And of course, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Alright, my friends, so now I'm going to prepare everything for you in order to start learning Python. So we're going to go and download and install the basic stuff. We're going to run our first Python code, and at the end there will be a bonus section where I'm going to show you add-ons and stuff that I usually use in my projects, and as well a Notion roadmap for Python to track and plan your learning process. So my friends, let's jump in. Okay, now the first thing that we need to do is to go and download Python. So open your browser and go to python.org, and then we're gonna go to that download section, and here you're gonna see one big yellow button that says download Python. And then we have like a version for me now, it's like 3.13. You might see here like higher version that I'm showing now, and that's totally fine. So let's go and click on that, and then you will get like the installation. So let's go and click on it. And now very important, before we start installing now, we're gonna go and check this one. So we're gonna say add python.exe to path. It's just gonna make your life easier, trust me. So now let's go to install now and click on that. So with that, we got Python in our PC. So now what we installed now is the full Python engine. So we have like the interpreter, the standard libraries, the built-in stuff, all those basics that you need in order to run Python code at your PC. Okay, so now we have to check whether everything is installed correctly. So now go and search in your system for terminal, and let's run that. Now here in the terminal, type Python, then dash dash version. Let's go, and our system returns Python with the version. So if you get it like me, that means, my friends, we have now installed Python at our PC. And now the next question is, where are we going to write our Python code? And here we have two options. Either we're going to use a code editor, or we're going to use an IDE. So a code editor is like smart notepad for developers. So you're going to have like some nice stuff like syntax highlighter, autocomplete, file navigations, many extensions and add-ons. And we have very famous editors like the Visual Studio Code and Atom. And from the other side, we have the IDE, Integrated Development Environment. This one is like heavier, more advanced than the code editor. You will get a debugger, compiler, version control, and many more heavy stuff inside it. And the very famous one is like the PyCharm and the Visual Studio. Be careful, it's not the Visual Studio Code. And now of course the question is, which one we're going to use? Well, we're going to go with the code editor, Visual Studio Code. It is just free, lightweight, that has more that we need in order to learn or work with Python. And I can tell you, my friend, this editor is not only like for beginners, for someone to learn a programming language. This one is as well for professionals. You're going to be using it in your projects. I use this editor as well for my real projects. So now enough said, let's go and get it. Okay, so now let's go and download Visual Studio Code. So we're going to go to code.visualstudio.com, and once you are there, you can go and click download for Windows. And if you are using Mac, you can go to the docs over here and then to the setup on the left side. Here you can see for Linux, for Mac, for Windows, and if you go to the Mac, you can see as well here the downloads. So now go download and install Visual Studio Code at your PC. After installing the Visual Studio, we're gonna go and open it. And now I totally understand if this is like a little bit overwhelming. You have a lot of icons, menus, and stuff. But don't worry about it. I'm gonna guide you like step by step. So So now we have here like the basic Visual Studio, but we want to go and upgrade stuff. We want to go and add like upgrades and power to our editor, and we can do that by adding extensions to the Visual Studio. Now if you go to the left side, you can see here we have a lot of icons, one of them called extensions. So go and click on that. So now what we can do, we can go and search for add-ons and extensions to our Visual Studio. So what you have to do is to go and search for Python, and now the one that we need is Python by Microsoft. So click on that. So this is an official Python extension by Microsoft. So let's go and download it. So we're going to go over here and click on install. And with that, the extension is installed. This is a really nice one in order to get smart suggestions, to highlight errors, to run things easier, and so on. And with that, we got our first extension in Visual Studio Code. And now in the next step, I want you to go to the file over here in the menu, and then let's open a folder. And what we're going to do now is to create a folder where we can put all our Python codes. So make sure to put it somewhere safe. So we're going to go and create new folder. Let's call it, for example, Python_learning, and select the folder. So now the window switch to the Explorer, first icon over here, and now we can see in this panel our folder, the Python_learning, and here we can see all the folders and files that we are creating in the projects. Great. Now we have the folder, and now inside it we're going to create our first Python file. So in order to do that, we're going to go to this small icon over here and click on that. We can create a new file, call it whatever you want. So let's call it hello. And now we have to tell our system this is not a normal file, this is a Python file. And for that we have to use the correct extension, Y stands for Python. So hit enter, and now our system understands, aha, this is a Python file. And as you can see, we have here like a nice small icon of Python. Now in the middle here, you can see already our file is open, and the editor is waiting for you to write something. And now we are ready to write our first Python code. And now don't worry about the syntax, what we write here, because I will be explaining for you everything step by step. Don't worry about it. So just follow me now. You write print. This is a function that can add something in the output, and after that, you open parentheses. Here, as you can see, as you open parentheses, the editor closes it immediately because you need it at your code. So we have open and close parentheses, and now we go inside them and we type double quotes. So as you can see, we have now two double quotes because this is the syntax in Python. So as you can see, the editor here is helping us in adding stuff. So in between the older stuff, we're going to write something. Like for example, you can say, hi, this is my first Python code, something like this. So now we have our first code in Python, and the next step is to go and execute it. So we're going to go to the display icon over here and click on it. And now, my friends, if you see in the terminal this message like this, I can say, congrats, you have written your first Python code. So now in the terminal, you can see the output of your code. So the first few steps is just like where your file is located. But what is very important is this message over here. This is the output of your code. We say in our code, print this message, and we got the message in the output. So that we have told our PC to do something, we have written here like an instruction, and our PC did understand what we want and executed the task. And this is exactly what is programming. Alright, so now what is next? We're going to talk about shortcuts. Now what we have done in order to run this code, we went to this icon over here and clicked on it. And now, my friends, we have to be professional, right? We don't want each time we go and click on the icon in order to execute our code. We're going to go and use shortcuts. So now we're going to go to the command section for Windows, hit Shift, Control, and P, and if you are using Mac, Shift, Command, and P. And now we're going to go and search for the following: preferences, and then double points. We need the open keyboard shortcuts, the one over here. So we can see now all the commands in the Visual Studio and the key binding, a shortcut. And now what do you want? We want to make a shortcut for running Python. So we're going to go and search for run Python file. So now we can see this command, run Python file, and as a default, Visual Studio will not add any shortcut for it, but we can add it manually. So double click on the key binding, and now choose the shortcut that you want. I usually use the Control R. So that's it. Hit enter. Now you can see our nice shortcut, and the source you see here, it's user. Perfect. Now let's go back to our code. You can see in the tab, hello with Python. And now we don't have to hit the play button like we're going to do. We're just going to use the shortcut, so Control R. And perfect. With that, we have quickly executed our code like an expert. Alright, my friends, so with that, we have prepared your PC with everything that you need in order to learn Python. Now we're going to move to the bonus section, to the luxury, where we add some decorations to our Visual Studio. It is not a must, it is nice to have, and this is the style that I like. So let's go. Okay, so now in order to add more decorations to our Visual Studio, we're going to go to the extensions, and the first thing that you can add is a theme for our Visual Studio. There are a lot of amazing themes for the coloring and stuff, so I'm going to show you my top 4 themes and the one that I usually follow. So one of the very famous ones is called One Dark, or this one over here. This is a very famous theme, and you can go and install it and check whether you like it or not. And if you scroll down, you can see more screenshots and information about this theme, and you have to be careful on the marketplace. Some stuff are like free to use, and others you have to pay like license. But for this one, currently it is free. Another one that is very popular is the IO. So this one over here, click on it, and this one as well, very famous between developers. You can see there's like light mode, dark mode, and like different coloring. Actually here there's like no right or wrong, and this is as well, for now it's free. And a third one that is very famous, Monokai. Well, this one sadly you have to pay for it, but this is as well really awesome. Like each time I try it, it feels really professional. But now we go to my favorite one, is going to be Dracula. So Dracula, I have this one over here. So click on that. You can try it, and if you like it, you can use it like me. So we're going to go and install it. Trust and install. And now you can see immediately all the coloring of the Visual Studio did change. Now if you go back to our code, you can see the coloring did change. The print now is green. It is just clean, beautiful. I just like it. So try it out. It is free. So of course I will be using the theme. But again, it is not a must. Okay, so now moving on. There's like one more thing that I like to add is different type of icons. You can see we have this small snake here for Python. If you want to go and add some more fancy stuff, you can search for material icon theme. The first one over here. So click on that. And if you scroll down, you can see you will get like more colorful icons and stuff. Again, this is on luxury. So I'm going to go and install it. Trust and install. So now if you go to the Explorer over here, you can see we have now nice colorful icon. It is just stuff. Okay, so now let's go to the next one. This one going to be more serious, not only colors and stuff. So now go and search for Auto pip 8. So the first one here as well from Microsoft. So now this extension can go and automatically format your code following the standard format and the styling guide of pip 8. Now what is exactly pip 8? It is a standard on how to format and style your Python code using like a set of rules that you can follow in order to have clean, readable, and professional looking Python code. So we can see here in the pip 8 styling guide there are like a lot of rules that the developer this extension going to go and automatically format your code following the standard format and the styling guide of PIP8. Now, what is exactly PIP8? It is a standard on how to format and style your Python code using like a set of rules that you can follow in order to have clean, readable, and professional looking Python code. So we can see here in the PIP8 styling guide, there are like a lot of rules that the developers should follow, right? And what this extension does is go and format automatically your code using this standard style. So it's really nice. Go and install it. And after that, we can go back to our code over here. So now let's add some few bad styles to our code. So maybe a few spaces before the parentheses and after it, and as well here. So this really doesn't look good. So now in order to format this, we can go to the command section. So Shift Control P. So now we can search for format documents. This one over here. So click on it. And perfect. You can see it removes all those unneeded spaces, and with that we have automatically formatted our code using standards. Command section. So Shift. So maybe a few spaces before the parentheses and after it, and as well here. So this really doesn't look good. So now in order to format this, we can go to the command section. So Shift Control P. So now we can search for format. To format this, we can go to the command section. So Shift. Control P. So now we can search for format documents. This one over here. Here, so click on it, and perfect. You can see it removed all those unneeded spaces, and with that we have automatically formatted our code using standards. And of course you can go and create like shortcuts in order to quickly format your code. So my friends, those are the add-ons that you can add to our Visual Studio. And of course, if you install something and you don't like it anymore, you can go back to your extensions. You can see we have here the install section, and you can go and uninstall your extension. So my friends, that's all for now. We have prepared your setup in order to start learning Python. And now, my friends, to the last one, I have prepared here a full Python roadmap using Notion templates. You can go to the link in the description and you can download it. So this is really nice in order to track your progress. So for example, you can see here the main phases of learning Python. I have beginner, intermediate, and advanced, and as well the nice status, how much you have already covered. And then below that we have the course index. Here we have everything. So we have the phases, the chapters, and as well the lessons. Now we are currently at the introduction, so it is in progress. We already covered what is Python, so it's done. And as well we set up our environment. So we can go over here and say this is as well done. Now we can go to the next step and say this is in progress. And this is the first step that we can cover in Python documents. And as well you can go and add a plan when you will learn the next steps. So it's really nice way in order to organize your learning process. Now you can see here we have like many stuff like the board. So you can see immediately the chapters that are to be done, how much in progress, and how much you have covered. It's called like a Kanban board. And once you have done everything, you can check the timeline, the calendar, and as well you have nice charts to how many topics that you have already covered. So it is a really great way in order to feel like there's an achievement, there's like a progress. So if you'd like to plan and track your progress learning Python, you can go and use by Notion templates. Alright my friend, one more last thing, if you really enjoy this type of tutorials where it's free and as well I sketch those complex concepts and you want more content like this, then support the channel by subscribing, liking, commenting. This can really help with the algorithm and can support the channel by reaching others like you, and as well can help you to make more content like this. And of course, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Hey friends, so now, the first thing that we usually learn about any programming language is how to add comments to our code. So what are comments? A comment is a line of text in your code that Python totally ignores. It is there only to help us in order to understand what the code is doing. Okay, so now let's understand how this exactly works. So let's say that you are coding a script in Python, and now you would like to add a comment. So now in order to do that, we use the special character hash, and after that, whatever you want. Like for example, start, and then you say this is my code, and then end. So now once you execute this, what can happen? Python can say, okay, this is not a code, this is just for the humans, and I'm going to go and totally ignore it. So that means actually nothing happens. It will not affect the logic inside your code or anything in the output. It is just a comment for you. So now if you say, you know what, why do we need comments? Now let's check this. On the left side, we have a code that is actually working, but it is kind of mystery, right? There's like some kind of filtering, and we are multiplying stuff together, but it's really hard to understand and to read. Now, if you look to the right side, we have the same code, but this time we are adding comments in order to explain the steps. So first we are saying, okay, we are loading the data, then we are filtering the data based on the month and the region, and then we are computing the revenue, and at the end we are finding the total revenue, and we are displaying it. So this is exactly the part of the comments. They're gonna make your code understandable, readable, and professional. And believe me, you're gonna thank yourself later once you come back to your code after a week or even a year, or someone even from your team. Once they open your code, they will see these amazing comments in order to understand what is the logic of your code. So this is exactly why we add comments to our code. Okay, so now back to the Visual Studio Code, and let's go and add a comment. So we're gonna start with a simple hash, and then after that we can write whatever we want. So this is a comment, and now if you go and execute it, you can see in the output we are not doing anything because Python at the start sees, okay, we have this hash symbol, so that means whatever comes after it, it's for human. So nothing to execute, and Python can go and ignore it. Now of course this comment that we just created is a single line comment, so this is a single line, but sometimes in our code we would like to add more description, and we would like to have like multiple lines. And of course, you can go and do that if you start always with the hash. So this is multi-line comments, and now we can go and add more lines of comments. Like we say first, create username, then maybe a second step, we print message to user, and a third step, store data. So as you can see, we have now multi-line comments. This is really nice if you have like complex logic and you want to explain it like step by step. Okay, so now my friend, there are like different styles on how to place the comments inside your code. So now let's see that in our code we have something like this. X is equal to 10. Now if I would like to add a comment for this in order to explain it, what we usually do is we go and place the comment on the top. So for example, we say store the final exam score. So that I understand, okay, I'm storing now the score 10 to the variable x. Don't worry about the syntax here, we're going to learn it in the next videos. So what we have done, we have placed a comment on top of our code that explains the next line of code. And now there's like another style where we add comments. We can go over here and say x is equal to 9. Now instead of putting the comment on top of the code, we will place the comment at the end of the code. So we'll say hash final exam score. So as you can see, everything is in one line, and each line of this comment has a line comment. This type of comments is very amazing in order to give a quick explanation. And usually keep it short. As you can see, I didn't say store final exam score. I just want to make it quick and short and say here final exam score. So if you want to exclude this, Python will not let you know the whole line because the line has two things. First, we have a code, so Python will go and exclude this x is equal to 9. But the next part, Python will say, okay, we have here hashable, so that means Python will go and ignore everything after it, not the whole line. So again, if you want to make a long and detailed explanations, place your comment above your code, and you can go and add multiple lines and so on. If you would like to give short and quick explanation or a label, you can go and place your comment in the same line exactly at the end of your code. Okay, so now we're quick now. Comments are like text, that's Python code of yours. It is written only for us for humans. We add comments to our code in order to make it understandable, readable, professional, and easy to maintain. It will help you in the future to understand the full process inside the code. So that's all about comments. Alright friends, so looking back at our plan, we learned how to comment our code. Now let's speak about the first and the very important building function in Python, the print, in order to show a message for the users. Alright friends, so now we're going to talk about the very first command in Python and the most used piece of code that you will see everywhere in Python projects. We're talking about the print function. So what is print? Print is a built-in Python function that displays a text or a result in the output stream in order to communicate something to the users. So what this really means, so now we see that you have a Python code and you are building like an application. Now in order to show a message in the output, we can use the function print. And the syntax for that is very simple. We use the function name print and then we put inside parentheses and we'll quote message. Like for example, let's say hi. Now if you go and execute it, what can happen in Python, you go and execute a function print. You can go and pick whatever you written inside the message and move it and display it in output. Now that's it. All we are doing is we are sending a message from our code to output in order to communicate something to the users. And of course, the question is, what is function? Now we have like a dedicated complete chapter about functions where we are deep dive into all the details step by step. And now see about the functions like in machine in programming. You give it an input, it does some work and process your input behind the scenes, and at the end it gives you back a result and output. So think of it as like a machine. You give it the active beans and water, then the machine does the work, and at the output you get a graphic. So you don't really care about all the details how the machine makes graphic. It's enough for you to know what you want to give the machine and what you are expecting from the output. And this is exactly what our functions in Python or in programming languages. Now you might ask, where do these functions come from? Well, we have three main sources for functions. The first one is the built-in functions. There are functions that come with Python out of the box. You can just use them anytime you want inside your code. For example, we have the print function, that's what I said is a built-in function, and we have other functions like input, the lead function, max, and so on. Now the second source of functions, we have the third-party functions. They come from external libraries like pandas, NumPy, PySpark, Multi, and so on. Those libraries are developed from third party, from someone else. It's not from Python, but still you can install them and use them in your code. And now the third source of functions, we have the user-defined functions, which are the ones that you, my friend, create. So you can go and build your main copy machine. But now, my friends, we are focusing only on the built-in functions for now, and we are learning those important functions that come from Python, like we are learning now the print function. Okay, so back to the and let's practice this function. Let's start with something basic. So we're using the function name print. Then we're going to start close it. Now we have to go and give a message, and we can just using double quotes. And now we are ready to put our message, and we can write whatever we want. So for example, hi Python. And that's it, that's all. Let's go and execute it. Now you can see the output we have as well as the message, hi Python. So this is the most basic form of the print statement. We are just telling Python, print this message to the user as it is. Now my friend, there are like many special things that you can do inside the print, and we can walk you now through them one by one. So the first thing is that we don't have to use all the double quotes. We can go and use single quotes. And inside them, we can write again the message. So if you execute it, same thing can happen. Python will go and print the message. So you can use single or double quotes. Python can accept them as long as you are using the same type as the start and the end. So for example, I go say right here print, and let's say I start with double quotes, and then I say hi, and then I close it with single quotes. If I go and execute it, I will get the syntax here. So use the one that you like, but always start and end with the same type. So this one is important, and we want to put in comments. Now my friends, you can use the print or the try anything in the output, and you can style and design output as you want. So for example, if I go over here and say let print, for example, like a lot of minuses, and then in between I'm going to say print and few spaces, learn Python, and as well few spaces, it's like I'm making a pattern, and add-ins, and as well few minuses. Now if I go and execute it, I will get this cool design in the output. It's like a banner or a pattern or whatever. So you can have fun with it in order to design anything in the output message. I just saw this nice feature of printing a dinosaur. So you can see you can use imagination in order to draw something using print in Python. Okay, so special characters in Python. Now we have other characters that have no special meaning in Python, like regular letters A, D, Z, and numbers 5, 9, 0, and a lot of symbols like @ and question mark. They don't mean anything special, and they are treated as normal text. But now in Python there are characters that have special meaning when you are writing text. They all start with backslash, and once Python sees those characters, it can understand immediately, aha, we have to do something extra. So they have special purpose. So now let's say that we have this text, we have a sequence of characters, numbers. This is for Python, it's totally normal, and there's like no extra job to be done. Now if we put slash before the n, then what we have done, we just broke the normal sequence. And now Python can see special combination between the backslash and n, and this has a special job where Python can go and create a new line. So what we have done here is we have scaled a normal sequence, and we have in Python different ways of escape sequences. Like for example, we have the backslash and the double quotes, or a backslash was a single quote. We use them in order to include those quotes in the text, and we have as well double backslashes in order to include a real backslash in the text. And then we have the backslash and n in order to create a new line in the output, and as well the backslash and t in order to add horizontal tab just to have like spaces between words, and as well we have the backslash and b for backspaces. Alright, so now let's go back to our code in order to understand exactly what this means. And now let's say that I would like to have in the output double quotes. Like for example, I'm going to say over here, hi Python, I'm going to go and put Python into double quotes because I would like to see that in the output. Now if you go and execute it, you will get an error So you can see Python saying, okay, in your file, there is something wrong with your print. It's an invalid syntax. So let's go and check our code. You can see Python is now like in different color. It is not inside our message anymore because Python can say, okay, this is the first message. It starts with the double quote and ends with the double quote. And then there is something called Python. It will not understand what you mean with that because it is not inside the message. And then we have another message where it starts and ends, and inside it there is nothing. So you cannot do that. So now how do we fix this? We have to tell Python in some way that this double quote is the content of the message. It's not the end of the string. It's just part of the message. And we can tell that for Python using the magic of the backslash. We can use it in order to escape a sequence. So now how we can do it exactly before the double quote, the one that is part of the message, we're going to type a backslash. So now you can see we are getting like different color. And with that Python going to say, okay, there is something to skip here. The double quote that comes after the backslash, it is not the end of the message. Now we are not done yet. We have as well this double quote after Python. This one should be as well skipped because it is part of the message. So we're going to add as well a backslash for it. And with that Python can understand, this is the content of the message. And the last double quote, we don't have before it any backslash. Python can understand, okay, this is the end of the message. So if we go and execute it, you will see in the output we have hi Python and Python inside double quotes. So again, looking to this, the first double quote is the start of the message, so Python understands, okay, I have to print everything after it. Then the second double quote we have before it a backslash, Python can understand I have to print it, so it's not yet the end of the message. The third one is the same story, Python can see before it there is a backslash, so it is as well a part of the message. And the fourth one, we don't have a backslash before it, so it is the end of the message. This is exactly how Python can read this print. Now there is like another way in order to have double quotes in the output. You can go and use the other type with a single quotes. So you say hi Python, and you can put Python in double quotes. So if you go and execute it, it will work as well because you are using at the start and at the end single quotes, and this will be working. Of course, if you want to have like single quotes in the message, it will not work. So if you go over here and execute it, you'll see we'll get an error. So in order to have the single quote in the output, you have to go and use as well backslashes, and if you go and execute it, it will be working. So that means, my friends, you can use the backslash in order to skip a character to tell Python this is part of your message, especially if you want to use the same type of code in the message in the output. Now the escape character, the backslash, can help us in many scenarios. Like for example, let's say that I would like to go and print the path of something. So I'm going to say path, double point, and we can say the path looks like this. The folder is C, and then we have the folder users, and then the folder of the user bar. Now if I go and execute it, you will see again I'm going to get an error. It says there is something wrong in the syntax. So what is going on over here? Backslashes are always a special character in Python, and each time you use them, Python going to think you are telling something. So for Python is not understanding what to do with this character B after the backslash. It's not command because Python can expect from you using the backslash to do something like skipping special character or making a new line and so on. So now in order to tell Python this is actually the content of my message, you have to have a double backslashes. So with that you are telling Python, hey, I want to have a real backslash in the output. I'm not using this one in order to skip any character. And this is the only way in order to print the backslash in the output. The same thing over here. Now if you go and execute it, now Python going to say, okay, I understand you. You are just using the backslash to be printed in the output. You don't have any extra command for it. So in order to have a real backslash in the output, you have to use double backslashes. As I told you, there are a lot of special things about the print and the backslashes. Let's have the following scenario. I'm going to go over here and say message 1, and then I'm going to have another print, message 2. So now if you go and execute it, I will have those two messages in the output. Now if you say I would like to have like space or like divider, a blank between those two messages in the output, of course you cannot go over here and add a blank between the two prints and execute it and then expect to have as well blank in the output. This of course will not work because in the line number 2 there is nothing to do for Python, so it will not go and print like a blank. Now there is like two ways in order to do that. Either you can go and say print and then you don't put anything inside this print, so there is no message, it's blank. If you go and execute it, you will have here like space between them, but there is like smarter way in order to have a blank or a new line in the output by using as well backslash. So how we can do it, we can go and get rid of this third print, and now just at the end of the first message we can go and use backslash and then the character n. So now the combination of the backslash and n, you are telling Python at the end of my message go and create a new line, new empty line. So if you go and execute it, you will get the same results. The first print is going to go and print the first message, but at the end of this message we are telling Python to go and create an extra new line, and this is exactly why we have here a new line. This one came from the first print, and then after that we have the third line, the message 2. This came from the second print because Python can create a new line for each print. So this is exactly how it works. And if you see, you know what, I would like to have like 3 new lines. So all what you have to do is to put them after each other. So backslash n, to go and execute it, you will get here 3 blanks, 3 new lines. So this is really nice. And now of course you can go and put everything in one print. So I can take the message number 2 and put it exactly after the new 3 lines, and then I can get rid of the second print and execute it. So what is happening here? We have the message number 1. This is the first line. Then we have a new line that came from the first n. Then a second new line came from the second backslash n, and then a third line came from the third backslash n. But it's not empty because after it we have immediately a new message. So in the third line we have message number 2. And now if you don't want to see any empty or blanks between those two messages, but you want to have everything in one print, you can go and get rid of 2 new lines and leave only one. So if you go and execute it, you are having 2 messages in the output, but each message has a new line, and that's because of this backslash n. So these 2 prints can give you exactly the same result as this one over here. So this is really amazing use case for the backslash. We can compact everything in one print and we start splitting the messages using backslash n. Okay, so now I have one more thing about the backslash for you. You can use it in order to add a tab, space between the words. So let me show you for example. If you go and remove this backslash n and go and execute it, of course you can go over here and add like space in order to make separation between the words. As well you can go and use the backslash. So now in order to add a tab in Python, you can use backslash t. So now once Python sees this combination, backslash and t, you can go and add a tab. So if you go and execute it, you can see we have now a tab between those 2 messages. Okay, so now I have a challenge for you. Now I want you to print in the output the following. You're learning Python, and then you have 3 bullet points. So Python basics, data engineering, and AI are very important. Those bullet points, they do not start immediately as a new row. They have like a tab before them. It just looks nice, right? But now the real challenge here is to have only one print. Now pause the video and go and do that. Okay, so I hope that you have done it. Now we're going to do it together. Okay, so I hope that you have... have done it. Now we're gonna do it together. So we're gonna go and use print only once. I'm not allowed to use multiple prints. And then double quotes. So let's start your learning path. Double points. And now we need the first bullet point name, but I would backslash and n. So I have to have that tab. We're going to execute it. We're gonna have as well minus in one line backslash n backslash d before it. I will see it. So if we go and execute it, I'll get the last point. Put everything, my friends, in one big line. Message, and you don't want to put everything in one big line, you can go and split your message into multiple lines, and as well using only one print function. So now let me show you what I do. Your learning path can stay over here, and then in order to see the rest, I'm going to go and hit and enter in order to go a new line in my code. But as you can see, things can get read, right? But I'm going to go and keep doing that. So for the second message, a new line, and for the third one, a new line. Now, of course, if you go and execute it, you'll get an error, because Python will not allow it. Now, in order to fix this, we can use the triple quotes. So now, at the start, we're going to go and add triple quotes, and as well at the end, we'll add triple quotes. Now, you can see our code, we don't have have anything read anymore, and if I go and execute it, you will see it is working, but we are getting as well extra new lines. So actually, if you're using triple quotes, if you start a new message using a new line in your code, it's going to be considered as a new line. So that means we can go and get rid of the new lines. So we don't need those backslashes and n, and if I go and execute it, I will get the exact same results. So this is a really nice way in order to add multiple lines in your code, and as well multiple lines in the output using one single print. You can do that only if you introduce 3 quotes. Alright, my friends, so with that I've covered, let's say, the most important tips and tricks that you can use inside the print. It is really fun in order to design an output for your users. Now, my friend, if you are totally beginner in Python, I know that you'll have always the same question. Why do we need this stuff? How are we going to use what we are learning in real projects? Let me show you real use cases in projects for that print function. So for example, we have this code, you don't have to understand all details, but I want you to understand the use case of the function. So now we have here a lot of values and calculations and logics. Now, if you run this code, you will not get anything in the output, because everything is happening behind the scenes, and you don't have like a window to what is going on. And this is exactly when we need print. Now, in order to see more what is going on in our code, and to see inside the box, what you can do, you can go and print the last results. So I'm going to go and say final total, double points, and then the final total. So if I go and execute it, now you can understand, the final total is this value. So we do it like this in the project. In order to see the results, we use a print, so we are sending the value from our code to the output. Now let's say that there's something wrong. I'm not really sure whether this value is correct. And in our code, we have like many steps. And here again, we use the function print in order to understand each substep. So for example, I can go and place a print in between here. And now this time I'm going to say here, subtotal is equal to, as well, subtotal. Now, my friend, don't worry about the syntax and what is going on here. I just want you to understand when we use print in real projects. So now if I go and execute it, now I can see and understand, the subtotal is this number, and this might help me to understand the substeps inside my code and whether my calculations are correct. Now I can see the subtotal, and maybe I want to see as well the discount. So I'm going to go over here as well and print as well this intermediate result, the discount. So discount, and as well execute. So now I see a lot of stuff, the subtotal, the discount, and the final total, but actually the calculation is correct. So my friends, this is a very important use case in real projects. We use it in order to print the results of our calculations in the output. That's going to make things more transparent for us and can help us in testing or debugging if there is something wrong in our calculations or logic. So this is how we use print in real world projects. Okay, my friends, now let's do a recap. Print is a built-in function in Python, and we usually use it in order to communicate something to the users, to show the progress and the steps of your logic in your code, and as well we use it in order to debug and test. So the print function is very simple, but yet very powerful. And my friend, I'm going to promise you something that you will end up using the print function in every Python script. From the day one in the beginner level until the very advanced levels in Python, you will end up always using print. Alright friends, so let's track our progress. With that, we have covered everything about the print function in Python. And now next we'll speak about a very fundamental concept in Python, the variables. This can make our code dynamic and smart. Alright my friends, one more last thing, if you really enjoy this type of tutorials where it's free and as well I sketch those complex concepts, and you want more content like this, then support the channel by subscribing, liking, commenting. It can really help with the algorithm, and then support the channel by reaching others like you, and as well it can help we can make more content like this. And of course, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. friends, so now we're going to talk about a fundamental and very important concept in Python. We have the variables. So what is a variable? A variable is a name that you create to store value inside it in order to reuse it later in your program. So think about variables like a box, and you give for this box a label, like a name for it. It could be anything like a username, a country, an X, and you can put stuff inside this box. Anything you want, like a number, a string, maybe a logic or calculations. Now once you have stuff inside this box, you can move this box everywhere in your code, and you can use this stuff wherever you want inside your code. And of course, anytime you want, you can go and open the box, take everything out from it, and put the new stuff inside it. And then again, you go and close the box and start using it around in your code. So this is what we mean with variables. Alright, so now as usual, I'm going to show you a sketch in order to understand how Python executes variables behind the scenes. Okay, so now again we have our code and output, and we would like to go and create a variable. So we say the variable name is x, and we want to store the number 1 inside it, and we call this assignment. That means we are assigning the value 1 with the variable name x. So now once we execute it, what's going to happen, Python going to go and create, let's say, a box, and call it variables. This box can be storing like values and data in the memory that is ready to use whenever we want. So Python going to create in the memory variable called x, and we'll assign for this variable the value 1 inside it. So far what we've done, we have created the variable, we have assigned for it a value, and now what is left is to use this variable. So let's say, for example, we use the function print, but now inside the parentheses, we will not use any value, we will use the variable name. So now if you go and execute it, Python cannot go and immediately print the value in the output. First, Python has to go and get the value of the variable. So it's going to go and search in the memory for a variable called x, and once it finds it, it's going to go and return and reads its value in order to use it in the print. So now during execution, instead of having x, we can have 1. Now we have everything ready for the print. Python going to go and print this message in the output. So you will see the output 1. So this is exactly how we work with the variables. We create one, we assign for it a value, and then reuse it later. And now let's say that in the next steps in my code, we have to update the value of this variable. So we want to say forget about the 1, go and store 2 instead. So it's very simple. In order to update the value, we can use the same syntax. So we'll say x is equal to 2. So now once you execute it, Python going to go to the variables and see, aha, I have already the x. Python doesn't have to create a new one. All that can happen is that it can go and update its value. Instead of 1, we can have 2. So that means from this point, x now is equal to 2 inside the memory. And now, for example, if you go and print the x again, the same thing can happen. Python will go and search for the x, and this time you can find 2 inside it, and returns it to your code, and Python can print 2 instead of 1. Okay, so now let's keep going. Now I would like to create a new variable called y. Now as usual, we would like to assign for it a value. But this time we will not assign a direct value to it, we will assign for it like a calculation. So we can say the value of y can be the result of x plus 3. So now if you go and execute it, Python cannot go and immediately create the variable y. First, it has to do the calculation. And now in order to do the calculation, we need to find the value of x. So again, Python will go and access the variables in order to find the variable x, and then it's going to read its value back to your code. So now we're going to get the 2 inside our code, and now Python can do the calculation. So 2 plus 3, the result is going to be 5. And now it has everything in order to create the variable. Python will go and create a new variable called y, and assign for it the value 5. Now if you check the variables box in our memory, we have 2 variables, and each of them holding a value. And you can use them anytime you want in your program in order to do calculations, comparisons, to display them, anything you want. So for example, I can go and print the y, so Python can search for the variable y and return its value, and then print it in the output. So this is exactly how we work with the variables inside our code, and this is as well exactly how Python executes its variables behind the scenes. Okay, so now back to our code, and I'm going to show you exactly why do we need variables. So now let's go and print a few stuff, like for example print, and I'm going to say my name is Bara. Of course you can go and use your name, you don't have to use mine. Let's go to the second print, and I'm going to say Bara is learning Python. Now we're going to go to the third one, and we say print Bara wants to become Python expert. So that's all. Let's go and execute it, and we can see our messages exactly like in the print. So my friends, this is working, but we still have an issue. Now let's say that I would like to go and change the name from Bara to Maria, for example. Now to do that, you have to go everywhere and start manually changing the name from Bara to Maria, right? And this is of course not very smart. Imagine you have like a big complex code, you have to go everywhere and start changing the values. So for sure this is going to go out of control. But now if I go and execute this, I will get Maria instead of Bara. Now we don't want this, we want to make it smarter, right? So let's get everything back like before, and this time we're going to use the power of the variables. So let's go and create a new variable, let's call it a name. So this is the variable name, and now we want to go and store inside it a value. So in order to do that, we're going to use equal, and after that we're going to have double quotes, and we're going to use the name. So again, this is the variable name, and this is the value that will be stored inside the name. So we are assigning the value. So that we've created a variable and we assign for it a value, the next step we want to go and use this variable, right? So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go and copy the whole thing and put it below the variable. So now what we're going to do, we're going to go and replace all those static values of the first name, Bara, and we're going to replace them with the variable name.
is Pokemon. Oh my. Wow. This
So we can have a name here, password here, counts here. But now we go and execute it, what can happen? You will see in the output, my name is name, and that's because the variable name is inside that double quotes, and Python will think this is just a text. Now how are we going to tell Python this is a variable, this is not a part of the message? Because that means in one print I want to have like static parts and another part that is dynamic. using the variables. So now in order to do that, we use the comma, and then after that, we use the variable name. So we can go and get rid of this static part. Now we can see the name is outside of the static part, so it's not inside double quotes. And Python can understand, okay, this is a variable. So now if you go and execute it, you will see over here, my name is Bara, and this value came from the variable. Now one more thing that you might notice is that there is a space between the static part and the variable, and this space here, it comes from the comma. So each time you use a comma, Python will go and automatically add space between the parts. So now let's go and fix the second message. I look into this, what is the dynamic part and what is the static part? Is learning Python is the static part, and the name is variable. So in order to fix it, we're going to go and remove the name from here, and this time we're going to put the variable at the start, and then split it from the static part using a comma. So variable is learning Python. We're going to execute it, you'll see here Bara is learning Python, and with that we made the first part of the message dynamic. And the same thing for the third message, wants to become Python expert is the static part, and the first part is the dynamic, using of course the variable. So now if you go and execute it, you'll see the output, everything is now working correctly. So now I'm going to show you exactly why do we need variables. At the start, in the first section, you saw me changing the values manually. So I go on each print and start modifying the values, and this is really annoying, right? But now after using variables, all what I have to do is to go and change the value only once, only add the variable. So now let's say instead of having Bara, we're going to go and use Maria, and if I go and execute the code, you will see everything change as well in my code. So my name is Maria, Maria is learning. In Python, Maria wants to become Python expert, so you can see now Maria everywhere. And this is exactly why we need variables. We go and create it in one place, and then we reuse it multiple times inside our code. And if I want to change something, I change only the variable, and this can affect the whole code. And now I would like to show you something quickly. If I go and say name is equal, and let's say I'm going to go and put my name here. So that means I'm assigning a new value to the variable name, and if I go and execute it, you'll see nothing can happen. And that's because Python executes the code line by line. So at the line 5, name is equal to Maria. At the line 6, the variable name contains the value Maria. And Python has no idea that later I have updated the value. And the same thing for the line 7 and 8, Python only knows that the name is equal to Maria. And only at the line 10, Python can go and update the value in the variable. So now if I go and take everything from here and put it after the update, and I go and execute it, you will see in the third section, the name is equal to Bara, because at the line 11, now if Python goes to the variable name, it will find the value Bara and not Maria, because we have updated. So this is how Python works, step by step, line by line. Now let's go and introduce a new variable to our code. So if you take again our messages, we can find another repetition, and that is the Python. So we have it twice here. If you have the feeling that you are repeating the same value over and over, you can go and create for it a variable. So we can go and create a new variable called language, and we can go and assign for it a value Python. We have to use this variable inside our code. So how we can do it? In the first print, we don't have Python, so there is no need to use it. But in the second print, we have here Python. Now instead of having it static like this, we're going to use our new variable. So I'm going to go and remove it, and now after that, I'm going to go and use language. But of course, we cannot do it like this. We have to split using a comma. So now by looking to our print, we have a variable, comma, then a static value is learning, and then comma, and then again a variable. So if we go and execute it, everything will be working. Maria is learning Python. So perfect. Let's go and update the last print. So now Python is in between like two static values. So we're going to go and replace this with with a variable language, but we cannot leave it inside two double quotes. We're going to split things. So after become, we're going to have the double quotes and then a comma, and after the language, we have another comma because the expert here is a static value. But what is missing here is a double comma in order to have the right syntax. So this time we have four parts. We have variable, static part, again variable, and then static part. Let's go and execute it. So now as you can see, everything is working. So now our code is fully dynamic and we can change stuff very easily. So now let's go and change the values. Instead of Mario, I'm going to go and use my name. And this time I'm not learning Python, I'm going to learn JavaScript. So now if I go and execute it, you can see my name is Bara. Bara is learning JavaScript, and Bara wants to become a JavaScript expert. Alright my friends, now we can have the feeling that our code is smarter, right? Our code is completely dynamic and we have a full control on the values, and this is exactly the power that the variable gives us. It makes everything more dynamic and smart inside our code. Right, my friends, let's have a quick recap about the variables. Variables is the foundations in order to make your code dynamic. We use it in order to create a name, and we store inside it a value. And we use the equal operator in order to assign values to the variables. And Python keeps those values inside the memory in order to have quick access. And once you create a variable, you can go and reuse it wherever you want inside your code. And of course, during the execution, you can go and update the value of the variable. So my friends, you can find variables in every real-world applications, from a very simple script to advanced one. So variables are amazing. Alright, now I have the final challenge for you. You have to go and print those 3 lines. But not only that, take a look to the text to introduce at least one variable in your code to make things dynamic. So now pause the video and write your solution. Okay friends, so by looking back to our plan, with that we have learned how to make a dynamic and smart code using the fundamental concept of the variables, and now next we will learn the second very important built-in function in Python, the input, in order to get a value from our users. Alright my friend, one more last thing, if you really enjoy this type of tutorials where it's free and as well as sketchable and concepts, and you want more content like this, then support the channel by subscribing, liking, commenting. This can really help with the algorithm, and then support the channel by reaching others like you, and as well can help you to make more content like this. And of course, thank you so much for watching, and hey friends, so now we're going to talk about fundamental and very important concept in Python. We have the variables. So what is a variable? A variable is a name that you create to store value inside it in order to reuse it later in your program. So think about that.